Growth in permanent jobs in Scotland continued last month but at the slowest rate for almost 2 years, according to a report. Demand for staff increased and starting salaries continued to rise, the latest Bank of Scotland report on jobs showed. Its Labour Market Barometer stood at 59.1 in April, down from 60.6 in March. This was the lowest reading in 22 months and below the index for the UK as a whole. The barometer measures areas such as levels of staff demand, employment, and wages to create a single-figure snapshot of labour market conditions. The figure is measured against a baseline of 50, with anything above representing an improvement and anything below a deterioration. Edinburgh recorded the strongest increase in permanent placements and Dundee the largest rise in temporary positions across the country. Starting salaries. The most marked rise in demand for permanent and temporary staff was in the medical and care sector, followed by IT and computing. Donald McRae, chief economist at Bank of Scotland, said, Scotland's labour market continued to improve in the month. The number of people appointed to both permanent and temporary jobs rose modestly while the number of vacancies increased in the month. Starting salaries rose sharply and temp pay rates increased. Deputy First Minister John Swinney said the Bank of Scotland report showed an improving labour market picture for the 54th consecutive month. He added, the report comes at a time when the Office for National Statistics figures published last week show that Scotland's jobs market is performing well across a range of measures. They showed that we have the lowest youth unemployment level in 7 years, and Scotland currently has the highest employment rate and lowest inactivity rate of all 4 UK nations.